Hey, Don here again with another live stream. I'm going to got my camera over here this time. So I'm going to be working over here on my little workbench, and I might want to turn the camera around there. Let's see. Let me check my audio up here. See, I have a stream. Well, let's try it over here. I've got this tablet up on this tablet I bought for Mom on a 10-inch tablet. I've got it up on my channel. And yeah, there it is. It wasn't showing. Usually, on regular YouTube, I don't ever use tablets and phones. No, that's a previous live stream. That's a really old one. Huh. No, it's not. I don't remember. I just didn't remember showing. Oh, Open WRT. I do remember showing that. Anyway, that's a previous stream. I haven't renamed my ones the last few days because I'm going to have to. They kept getting broken, and I'm going to upload my backup videos and replace them with that. So I didn't bother to go mess with them. But probably should have just went to. I don't know. I guess you can do it on the tablet just as well. Go to YouTube on Chrome and then get to it that way. It's not showing up the way it should. I don't see my live stream. So let's see. Also notice it keeps going to sleep, and probably it may go to sleep even if it videos. No. Okay, so. Well, that was a bust. I'm glad I have my laptop. I can see it. I just haven't checked the audio yet. Okay. That was why I kind of thought, well, I'm going to have to. I have a 4-port. 4-port KVM switch, but it's really old. I bought it in 102, I think. And let me check my audio now. Yep, sounds good. So I'm just going to leave that like I was thinking. I might give the tablets, the old laptop, some relief. It's already fan spinning up. If I could monitor my stream on that tablet over there, but I can't find my live stream. So let me hit the home button over there and see. Let me get my 4-port KVM switch. It's really hard to get to stop where you want it to now. It didn't used to be that way, but it still works fine. I wasn't planning on fiddling with the tablet and having to show it. See, normally I use this wireless mouse and keyboard on that laptop, but I plugged it into the tablet so that I could sit here and do this. Of course, you can't see the tablet, but I forgot just a minute ago. There's a home button. Let's see what that does. That's really weird. Why would YouTube do that? YouTube app not show live streams like the regular YouTube page does. I mean, it looks based. Well, it doesn't look the same. It's laid out differently, so maybe they're just in a different spot. Oh, I clicked the back button, and it actually just took me back to where I already was. What it was is I needed to reload the page. I don't even know where the reload button is. The 3 dots? No. So anyway, now it's there, and should be able to hear myself and everything. It doesn't work. I can't stand how you can't get to the to make it full screen without. I guess you touch. I'm using the mouse, but I can do that actually better. But you can't get to it until you click on it first, and it goes away before you even have a chance to see where it is and click on it. And That's a nice picture and everything. I can, yeah. The laptop, depending on like day, at nighttime it's fine, but like right now it's morning and the sun's coming out, and it's one of those. It's a Dell 6000. It's a single 1.6 gigahertz. I'm hearing myself talking. Let's see. Now, can I mute the audio? That was what yeah, I can mute and unmute the audio fast on the laptop. Oh, I just remembered there's buttons on the front. I forgot that a while ago. Okay, that's driving me up the wall. You got to click right on the, also in YouTube, you can click anywhere in the window or hit your space bar to pause the video. That's not working in here. So, I'm going to leave it up in case I get in a tight to get to it. But, looks like I'd have to, I guess I could have left it full screen. Enough bunch of white stuff around the sides when you don't. I'll just leave it paused. So, yeah, I know. It's really, yeah, I forgot. I've been in the habit for a long time of using my, mute and unmute and up and down volume buttons on the very front of that laptop. I can reach up there and grab them. I forgot about them until just now. I could have checked my audio like that without having to flip my KVM switch all the way over to it and then, then coming back to this machine. That's why I do it with that wireless mic. But, okay. All the side tracks are about done now, I think. And I noticed something that I didn't notice as much during. I've been doing this for hours, getting all this set up the way I wanted, learning more about the camera and what the in the menus in the camera they don't say 1080p and 4K or anything like that. They say UHD and something HD, and it's like a silly abbreviations. And so I was trying to figure out which one is which and what I wanted, and also figure out if changing any settings. And it doesn't. Changing any settings in the camera itself, and the video settings in the camera will work. I assumed they would, just work for any, recording on the SD card or the USB output. Well, it doesn't change. Nothing I can see does anything to the USB output. It's just like on a default setting. And the only thing you can do is in your app that you're receiving at OBS Studio, I can change the resolution and the frames per second that I want this app to receive. And then in another app I use, in this OBS Studio that I always use to stream with and record video, this app here is just a webcam recording app and viewing app. And you actually have one more choice. There's also H.264, which is MP4. And it is a lot better looking, a lot sharper than the YUV or YU12. I mean, there's YU12 and YV12 is all there is in every other app I've tried to show up to the app, And but I don't think that. But oddly enough, in OBS Studio, it doesn't look grainy like it did in that GUBC. So the only problem I had was the light brightness, and so I went on and on. I made some really long tests talking about it. I got sidetracked, really, but I got into explaining it to myself there. I think I might just upload them, but as videos. But anyway, what I came down to is, let's see, I'll get here in the okay. So this is the desktop scene, and down here is where my USB 4K cam scene is, and it doesn't have the same things in the sources, but I can't show them to you without. I just don't have a scene to do that. I didn't make a desktop and 4K cam scene. I did make a 4K and endoscope because I knew I'd be using that. But anyway, you can right click on the input on the one that would say I named it what I wanted it, 4K cam, something to that effect, and then you right click and I'm not going to do it during the video. I might mess up my stream. But you right click and you add a filter and a color filter, and so I was able to change not just color but brightness and gamma and everything. So it was real good filter, and it was really fine tuned. I could like in the camera itself, if you go from 0 to -1, it really gets darker. in your video, and it'll record that way, but it won't go to the USB output. But with this, I was able to fix it. So coming out of the camera, it's still bright and washed out, but fixing it in OBS, and I didn't fix it. It doesn't look. I like the way my phone cameras look, the color and all. It's really vivid, and it didn't make it. I couldn't make it look just the way I wanted it, but I think it's a lot better. Except you may have already noticed the flickering if I move my hand or anything, and that's because I've got it so close to me. I've got it. That's just about touching that. That's like 2 inches from the lens. Normally I have it a little further away up there, pointing straight at me. And after it did that a while, when I was doing my tests, it seemed to only do it when I moved really close to it, but I'm noticing it's just doing it. So I gotta remember not to put it right there. But I decided that because I want to turn it around and aim it at my work table, I'll go ahead and do that today. But I don't think it flickered. I don't remember it flickering like that when it's on out further away. I think it's just because I'm so close to it. So because the settings I've done in OBS, for a minute I thought, oh, it's those settings I did in OBS that threw off the sensor, but no, it doesn't see none of that. That's post camera. You know, it's going out the USB to this program in the computer. That's where I did that. In the camera itself, I've never found anything that'll change it in those settings. So what's coming out the USB? I did kind of figure out what to change and stuff. And I showed it, a bunch of it, in a previous video, so I may go ahead and upload that instead. I'll sit here and talk about it again and here, and it's not at all what I was messing with the phone, and let me go ahead and get on. Right now I'll get like this. Okay, so there's one of my phones, just the back side of it. Still has the sticker on it from when it was brand new. I left it that way to quickly be able to see which one it was. This was the one that was going to be Mom's, and I also put a little sticker on it there. I forgot about when I moved that my mic's not going to go with me because I didn't even hook up my wireless mics. I was not thinking, I can't believe that. I was all planning on, going over there to the table, the workbench to work, and it did not dawn on me that I won't have a mic over there. Until just now when I started leaning that way, and I was like, oh, well, let's just see how it works out. So anyway, I was just using that to get everything set up. But I'll put it up here for now. This one, go back to the full camera view for now. This one is what I call camera 1. And see, it has a little sticker on it, and that's how I know which one is which. I labeled them. You can't really read it, but it's faded so much. Oh, no wonder it's faded so much I can hardly see it. Yeah. It says Dawn 1, I think, or does it say Cam? I can't even tell. I think it says Dawn 1. Yeah, it does. Oh, that's right, because originally it was Dawn and Mom. So I just call them, in OBS Studio, I named them Cam 1, 2, and 3, and so that's why I think of them that way. But I get this woke up, and what was the first thing I wanted to do? Let me look at my notes to self here. Oh, yeah. Okay, now this phone here, I made my own little selfie stick. It's not really for a selfie stick. It was just so that I could mount it in actually my mic stand. I'm using my mic stand for a couple of years now as tripods. And another mic stand, not this one right here that this is on. But worked out pretty good. This was just, I have a clothes tree, those wooden things to hang your clothes and towels and stuff on. And one of these split and wouldn't stay on there, and if you hang anything on it, it'd fall off. So I took it off years ago, and then one of the legs broke, and I took it out in the garage, and I thought, well, one day I'm going to fix it, and I never have. So I thought, you know what, I needed a rod to do this. Screwed it in. I screwed it a long enough screw that it got on past where it was split, and I drilled it out, I think, so I wouldn't split it more. But anyway, and this is a really giant paper clip. And it screws down on there perfectly. Also, you can just you can use. I use the wing nut on any regular tripod. You know, it's got that little shorty bolt sticking up there with a knob on the bottom. Put this over it and with a washer on top, and then use a wing nuts. Quick, you can use a regular. It's a 1/4-20 is what they are size. 1/4-20 wing nut or a regular nut, and wing nut's quick. You know, you can take it on and off. So I used to do that on my tripods, and then when I did this, well, I didn't want a wing nut on it because I didn't want to take it on and off. And so, but this will clamp. I can clamp this. I have a mic clamp instead of this style. You can't see it, it's too low, but instead of the slide-in style, it's a clamp. So it will clamp on here. I had to add some rubber bands to it. See all the rubber bands I have holding the phone in place, in the right place. And they work pretty well. They're flexible. First thing I realized is they actually help keep you from damaging your phone when you drop it, because they flex. When it hits, you know, it all gives. And it didn't... I realized, well, I saw it all the way to the ground one day, a long time ago. Actually, I think it was in here. I think first thing I started using was an old cassette case, and I had same kind of thing with rubber bands, and I knocked it off. I was outside working on something, doing a video, and I knocked it off. So anyway, and I bumped into them, rammed them into things, and it really does. It helps not to jar the phone so hard. So. And then I used, well, these are actually the twisty, thick, wide, double wide twisties that they use on bags of coffee. I ripped them off, peeled them off of there when I'm done with the bag, and save them for whatever. And then this turned out to be just the right thing to hold. I wrapped one around there to hold those rubber bands, to give that pulling motion to hold it back, keep it from flopping down, forward. And then I wrapped another one around here to hold the cable, so that it doesn't it would end up breaking the female connector in the phone if you didn't do something to get some strain relief. So that works pretty good. So I've used this for probably like this for at least a year, maybe 2 years, and I can also hold it. If I want to do a handheld shot, I can do it. It actually makes me do a better shot like this than trying to hold the phone. And of course, I always drop them if I try to hold them like that. So, and if I don't drop them, I get my finger over when you're using the mic on the phone, which I'm not doing now. I'm using my SM58 through my mixer and everything, mixer and effects. But this one has for probably a year now. I've been using it as a security camera. It's been running 24/7, pointing at my window. And every once in a while, I use IP webcam. That's what I used to stream, either for that purpose or it'll record and stream. But I use it to do my live streams. But I also use it right now as it'll auto sense movement and record and stuff. So every once in a while, it will app will shut down or the phone will lock up, and usually it's because all the cache in the phone is full. And let me see. I don't know if I can put this. Let me see if I can put that under there, because that was the whole point of setting that up. So let's see. I can't move my. Yeah, that's right in there. If I can get it woke up, I guess I should have. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I can't see where the thing is. I need a real good. I'm still getting too much reflection from the ceiling light. You see it. There we go. That's a little better. You just see it all, but it's a little far away for me to reach and do anything. I need to be closer. But that's what I was going to try to do. I used that other thing to set up my shot, and so I did not remember just how blocked it's going to be from the rubber bands. It's not. I mean, you can pretty well tell what's going on, but I can move that workbench over here right in front of me so that I can see the monitor and this, and it helps me see what the heck I'm doing on the phone, because I can't read them without a magnifying glass. That's 4-inch screen, even with these magnifying glasses I wear. But anyway, okay, so I thought I started to cleaning it up. That's what the video I'm trying to make here, and I'm going around in circles getting started here, is doing this and the different things. Oh yeah, okay, different things we can go through. Okay, I can do most of this. I can just leave it right there and do most of it remotely through Google Play. So let's get to Google Play. I'll start off like that, and then when I really want to get, if I don't have to, I won't work on this phone screen itself at all. All right, so these are my, this is all my phones. I have 3 of them, see? 1, 2, and then that one was already named Theta's, and so I didn't ever rename it in here to phone 3 or whatever. I just added it to my account whenever she decided it was too complicated for her to use, so she didn't want it. And so these are apps. It's kind of odd how it does it, but when you go to your My Android apps, if you have Android, you probably already know this, but it doesn't just show the apps you have on your phones. It shows everything you have or did have on there. So there's quite a few in here. Just remembered the kind of wishing I had my wireless mouse to the laptop. I hear it working pretty hard, but it went to sleep, so I can't see my preview of my stream now. Okay, I don't know why I don't hear any noise up there, but it is on the right page. Oh. I know why, because I muted it on the video itself. Okay, you have to get it playing and then mute it on the laptop. It's too many things. Okay, so I'm going to check my audio. When you get that feeling, you usually check everything. You better go ahead and do it. Okay, let's see if it'll. Looks like it's at the beginning. No, it's catching up. I thought it was going to stay at the beginning of the video, but I hear me say I need to check everything. I've got it turned down real low, but it still can't stand to leave it playing. It's just sitting there trying to load. Actually on this tablet, it's not going to be usable. I can see that. Let me just stop it. If I can get out of it, I can't get the screen to respond properly. So I'm going to close that app. It's just going to sit there and work the tablet for no reason. I'm not going to be able to use it for that. Okay, I'm planning on actually doing a little bit on it too. There's an app I want to install, and probably a couple I want to uninstall. Basically maintenance on all of these things. Did I check the sound yet? No, I didn't. Okay, I'm gonna for now I'm gonna stick my little wireless thing back in the laptop. Hang on. Okay, well now you see how the day, that's why it took me since probably midnight till now, 7 in the morning to get things going. I just can't seem to get things going. All right, let me do that. Now I will have turn off the keyboard so if I hit buttons it doesn't mess up that laptop. Now I can check my audio. Now I'll just use the mouse like I've been doing. Okay. Now I've got a green stream and I can see me moving in it. And it's a little behind, so what I just heard audio, so that tells me it's working. So yeah, I can check it pretty quickly like usual. I thought I'd never tried using the tablet. Now I see that it's not a good idea. It does not work. It won't stay awake. The YouTube app is just, I don't even know how to navigate it. It's not like the YouTube web page, and that's mostly what I do on the computer is YouTube. So I'm not new to YouTube at all. So, but okay. So these apps, let's see. Oh yeah, that's a new one. I'm not going to go through every single app because it just be forever. There's a bunch in here. I'll just, if I see one that looks like something worth, I don't remember what that is. Looks interesting. But now that one I just put on phone 1, I think it was, to try it out. It turns out I didn't quite understand what it was for. What it is it's another version of Open Camera, which is my favorite camera app for phones, and it allows itself to be remote controlled. So there's another app you get, and you put it on another, like say you want to use a phone for a camera and a tablet to control it, or whatever, or another phone or what you can do up to like 200 and something different devices at the same time. So if they all have that Open Camera remote one on there, and then you get that controlling app, which it tells you the URL of it on this page, then you can do a lot of fun things. So anyway, I might try that sometime, but mostly I do is streaming now. I don't do recording onto the phones. But let's see what AI View is. It keeps drawing me back to it every time I go there, and I just don't even remember what it is. Compatible. Oh, remote monitoring device. You can. It has terrible ratings, though. Oh, okay. Well, that's not a remote. I would like to find a remote desktop app that I can control the phones, and I can show them just like this. I can show them in a remote desktop screen in my video. Just I found one. I've used 3 different ones. Yeah, 3 different ones, and they work, but not well enough to keep using. I mean, after about 10 minutes, they won't respond anymore. They get I don't know if the cache gets on the phone or what, but because I've used remote desktop apps for years and years on desktops, and they used to work a lot better when we had slower routers, 100 megabits, and then now we got gigabit routers, and I'm still using 1080p, basically 1080 resolution here on my monitor. I haven't ever got beyond that, and never really had a need to. I'm using the VGA cable from the computer too. I used to use a DVI cable, but things changed with the way I needed to hook things up. But oh, this computer doesn't have a DVI output. That's what changed. The other computer did. Had a video card on it. This just has onboard video VGA, and that's it. So that app I put on Mom's tablet to see the phone 1 and a real security camera that I have out there over the garage with vehicles, and works pretty good. It's on the tablet. I can't show it right now, but and one of these is, I don't know if it's one of these 2 or another one, but I think I didn't even remember that there was 2 with the same basic name. Looks like that's the newer one. I'm not sure. But it really is very good and detailed at showing your volts and amps, and when you're charging, when you're not. It's really one good thing to use it for is to check if your cable, you think a cable's going bad. You can plug in your cable and then watch if it's charging or not, and then wiggle it and see if it's broken inside, if the conductors are breaking inside, or the connector. Turned out the one that was bad. I decided it was a connector on the small end, and that's just way better than trying to look at the little icon on the top of your phone. This takes too long to react, and just some of them were stuff I tried out and didn't want to use, like Lyft and Uber and those there. And I have a VR headset. I tried out a bunch of those apps. It was like $13 from brand new from Amazon. I couldn't stand watching it. It made me nauseous. I actually got it because I thought I might. This particular one, the camera on your phone would still. You could open. There's a door that you could open and shut in the front of it, and then you could open the door in the right amount, just a little bit, and the camera could see out. And I wanted to try to shoot point of view video that way. Oh, I'm on camera mode. Dang. Okay, so you have fun watching me wave my hands and do all that? I doubt you were watching. Okay, so back to the top, and I won't go into all that again. Here's the apps. AIV was the one. It has bad reviews. Sounded interesting. That's the open camera app I was going on and on about. That's the one that you can remote control. That's a good viewer for ONVIF cameras, peer-to-peer security cameras, or if you're using an ONVIF or IP camera app like IP webcam that I use on your phone, then you can view it with that. And I don't have it on anything to show you here. It doesn't. Well, it's not a desktop app. It's Android. That was the battery and charging checking app, and Amazon. We don't use that anymore. We used to have Prime, and you got that space on Amazon. Lyft and Uber. I installed them, and then when I saw the terms of service and the bad reviews and people getting charged for rides they didn't get when the driver didn't show up and claiming they did, and I just didn't want to use any of that ever. So, and let's see. Oh, All-in-one-toolbox. That's what it's my favorite cleaning app, and I think that's an add-on for it to do auto tasks. I really like that. I was talking about the VR headsets and VR headset apps. That's another. Yeah, that's a VR. That's for viewing videos in VR. You see the two identical screens. That's all VR is. It's just two images, one for each eye. 3D is another thing, but VR, that's what it is. So 3D, they have multiple cameras, and that's why you can pan around, the view. VR app, Skype, that's fine. I don't actually. My Android on these phones is too old to do the camera. I think you can do the chat, and that's all. And I'd have to, do a custom ROM and to the company that made them. They never sent out any updates since I bought them. I've said that over and over, but they were $15 each. These Alcatel A845Ls. They're good phones. They're quad cores, but they only have a gig of RAM and they only have 2 gig of onboard flash memory. But if you put I put 64. One of them I put a 32 gigabyte because that's the biggest it said it would take. But then I figured out that I already kind of thought that anyway. But if you format your SD card to FAT32, then you can put however size you want in there, and it'll recognize it. So I have the other two of the phones have 64 gigabyte SD cards. That at that time it was too expensive to buy anything bigger than that. And but you can't. The thing is, they do the operating system, the cache. You can clean the cache with All-in-one-toolbox or some app like that. But over time, especially when you have more apps on, if you have very many apps at all on there, it will fill up the onboard ROM, and the cleaning, the cache cleaning won't help after. It'll do it to a certain extent, but it won't. That's the state that phone 1 is in right now. That's why I'm going through and I'm going to uninstall. That's all you can do is just uninstall some apps. That's the only thing the operating system tells you that you can do. But I figured, I found that. I figured that. Well, I knew that from desktops, with Windows. I knew about things like that since 1999 or something like that. But anyway, some other apps. I don't remember much about that one. Collage. I don't know why. I don't remember why I tried it. OBS Remote. That I was really hoping would work. It's only set up to work when you're running OBS. That's what I'm streaming with right now. OBS Studio. It's only set up to work. Let me look at it. Looked at it forever. On OBS on Windows, and I don't run Windows. I run Linux. So, it whoever built it, these are free and open source, and so if people don't get, they get, don't have time to keep working on them, or if maybe they just quit working on them because nobody donated. But it's only got 3 stars, but it is pretty technical. So a lot of times a technical app that's hard to use, unless you're really into that kind of thing, will not get that great of reviews when it's actually well written. I never tried it because I didn't want to. And I did see that it was not being updated. And I didn't want. I'm not going to run OBS in Windows, but I always wished I could. If you're outside, especially doing something, you could switch your views, with a tablet, or if I would need a tablet to be able to see what the heck I'm doing. But you could switch your views. You could be out in the driveway or the garage doing video, and OBS could be inside on the desktop, and through your Wi-Fi you could do your switching and everything. And that's what I was wanting to do. But yeah, see, start, stop, stream, switch scenes. All the basic stuff that you'd want to be able to do, but it only has it's got 2.9 stars. It's almost 3 stars. But see, that's 2019. Oh, so people have been trying it. But see, some people like it. Some people really don't like it. And if you read the reviews, usually you can kind of tell they either just don't want to fiddle with it or they don't understand it. Because most people using, especially on phones, they don't want to know how it works. They just want to click and slide and click, Okay, so remember that was kind of interesting. There's a couple, I don't remember which one, but one of them helped me figure out OTG on the go, where you can, for instance, the tablet will charge, and I could charge it at the same time with this little OTG cable, a Y cable. One plugs in the charging cable, and the other one I plugged in that wireless mouse keyboard dongle. It was able to do both at the same time. My phones won't do that. They don't have OTG. They don't support it. I figured that out with one of those apps. I was going running around trying to figure it out, like looking at the operating system specs and stuff. And then one day, I don't remember why I did it, but I found an app for that. Another ad blocker. That one is like all about motion sensing. You put your phone up in your car, and it'll not just do motion sensing, but how fast you're going and stuff. Or if you hit the brakes real hard, it'll start making a video. It was pretty cool, but it wasn't any use for me in the house here. I don't remember that one. Music volume, I don't know why I tried it out. I remember the Bluetooth record apps I was trying to get. Open Camera, one thing it won't do for some reason is if you plug in, like I have some lapel mics, if you plug one of those into your phone, and it won't get the video off the lapel, it'll still just get the onboard mic. And that's why I tried out a bunch of those. This one here would, but it wouldn't do 1080 videos unless you paid for it. And it's a pretty good app, but I ended up taking it off because I never used it. That's another IP webcam type app. It's IP video. I'm trying to say there's IP webcam. I'm always talking about. I'll go ahead and show that. This is the page for it. It does have ads, and sometimes they'll drive you nuts when on this startup screen. It's the only place where you really see them. They take a bit to come in, so like if you open the app and then try to hit start stream, it'll jump on you, and you'll miss what you're trying to click on. So if you'll wait until that ad comes up, then it'll settle down and quit moving things around. It used to play, I think it was the one, it was the one. It used to play this stupid same video, some kind of pop music, over and over, trying to get you to, I have no idea who it was. It wasn't somebody you even see on, I don't, like when you walk by the TV and you go, I don't watch regular TV, I just watch on video on the internet for years now, for a better part of 10 years. But it's always on in the house, and so I'll hear who's popular and stuff in all the shows they watch. But so it wasn't anybody I'd ever heard of. Not that I would know everybody that's popular, but that's what I was trying to say. So anyway, it's got the most features. There's a few things you can't do with it unless you pay. It's got the most features and a really good all-around dependable app. And if you wanted to pay for it, if you needed to pay for it to get those features, it's $3.99. So I guess that's the same one. Maybe it's a different one that's similar, but yeah, that's a different app. Oh, anyway, it does what I need to do. The only thing is when I'm using it for security cam, it records their watermark at the top. I could get rid of that by paying for it, but I didn't ever plan on using my phone as a security cam for as long as I have. I have a brand new, got one I put up and another one that I ordered after that one. I want to make sure I liked it, a security cam, Seektronic security cam, that I haven't put up yet. And that's all because I have trouble with my health and I haven't been able to get out and do it. But it has been over 2 months, maybe 3 months since I've even made any videos. And the other day I started doing it, and now I'm doing it every day, seems like. Okay, so something to do with VLC, Video LAN. That's my favorite. That's Firefox. That's my favorite audio video playing app, and it will also stream. That's how I learned to stream, was with VLC. They changed all the settings up and try to make it easier, and I can't even get it to work anymore. 99% of the time if I try to do it. It's so easy to do with OBS and much more features, that I don't try anymore. Let's see. There's one of those OTG apps, and WhatsApp. I guess all of these apps I put on and then took back off that in this section. I don't remember. It's one of those, you know what it is probably. It's one of those chat apps. I don't know if it does video or just chat or what. Greeting card app that I took off the instant I got it on there. I've used that site for years, but, well, they changed. What did they change? Oh, I quit using it very recently because when you go to the site, they say you can't use this site unless you turn off your ad blocker. Well, ad blocker is not just blocking ads, annoying ads. It's a security tool, if you don't realize it. One of the first ways one of the easiest ways and one of the most common ways for people to get malware, to share malware with you is through, I guess you might call it a side channel attack. I don't know if that's technically what the coders would call it, but with ads, there's really no way for an admin. I've run my own website on my own server for years and years now, since 2005 or before. And yeah, I started after I got into Linux in 2005, so somewhere right after I got into Linux, within a year probably. That's where I will serve up my websites on there. I used to have them on GoDaddy, and then it got to where it was too expensive, and so I learned how to do it myself. I'd already been kind of learning about it ever since Windows 98. This was in, I think Vista was, I don't know what was out then. I started in Linux. I went from XP to Linux in 05. But anyway, trying to keep my own website safe, I learned a lot, Well, you can't, if you don't keep up with it, you don't know much. So I haven't been keeping up with every new thing like I used to, but there, ad blocks, block 23 things on this page right here. He says, it shows it right there. That was the admin of the website, the owners of the website, they sign up for ads with somebody they don't know, and there's no way they have no control of what's coming onto their website when they do that. And it's such a complicated thing. I can't imagine too many website owners managing the actual ads and the serving of the ads themselves either, going through it and finding out if it's safe. Or, I mean, multi-million-dollar companies have people to do that, and they can barely keep up with it, And so when I get on the site and it says, turn off your ad blocker, you can't see the site, it's a big box in the middle and you can't read it, I just go to another site. There's millions and millions of sites to choose from. Why would I do something unsafe for myself and my computer just because you're trying to? We all need to make money, but ad block doesn't block all ads. Let's see if I can. Where is the? manage extension. I'm assuming everybody knows about it, but here it is right here. You can set, I do not set, let's see, where is it? Somewhere in here it'll say allow acceptable ads or something like that. I don't, because they're not acceptable to me. They usually blink and they're playing videos or doing something that just drives me crazy. Well, the main thing I hate is when you go to Google to search, you'll have all these ads at the top. They're just text, but I am so used to being able to go straight to Google and search for something, and it's a good search result, not some advertisement. So that's the number one reason, is because of the way Google does that. And I still like Google. I started out with Alta Vista, and then I got to Yahoo, and then when Google came out, I liked it because Yahoo, you couldn't find anything for sifting through ads back in those days. After they got really popular, and then they just about went broke back then in the early 2000s, and now I think they did go bankrupt, didn't they? Or they just got sold. Either I get maybe they just sold out, but anyway. But it helps block pop-ups and ads in YouTube. I could not watch YouTube if I wasn't able to block all those ads. It does speed up loading time, and like I said, reduce the risk of malvertising. That's what they call it, malware, from coming to you through ads. From what happens is, I didn't really explain that well at all. Hackers, they love to hack these advertising sites, and they put their malware on them. And so that either two ways. They either put their malware on the advertising sites, or they just set up a server serving malware, and then they hack into, it's called code injection. That's usually what they call it anyway. They do code injection attacks they put code onto your website. They figure out how to hack into your admin of your website, wherever it might be, on your server or GoDaddy or whatever, and they put in code that changes the links. They may say, go to my next page here, or whatever it's got, and or if it's an ad, go look at this ad, and instead of it going there, it goes to their malware server. So, and of course you probably heard of, and that's how you get. That's the back end of how a lot of the drive-by viruses are served up. But see, usually it's pretty. Most people that's running a website, especially any company of any size, or that hires somebody that knows what they're doing, it's going to be hard to break in and change their physical website. But it has been for a long time a lot easier. That's what they discovered, to break into these ad serving sites because of the way they work. There's so many vulnerabilities in that code. They don't even have to I said get passwords and stuff. That's not even exactly how they do it anymore. There's so many ways to, you could call it like the old-fashioned backdoor into, as the code is going across the internet, they can inject into it. I'm trying to explain things that I got the idea in my head, but I don't know enough to explain it right. They're able to do. They don't just do code injection by what I just said, putting it on your website or the ad server's website, but they can inject it on the fly as it's going down the pipe, as they call it. And even though the SSL encryption and all that stuff, they can still do it. As soon as they block one, they figure out another way to do it. It's just a constant thing. So, in the last 10 years, there's so many hacks of major sites and, major retailers, bank sites, everything, all the government sites, Of course, each government's trying to hack each other, so that's another thing going on. And then tracking. Block social media tracking. There is one thing you got to kind of watch out with this. When it updates, a lot of times it'll go back to the defaults, and if you don't pay attention, you won't be blocking all the stuff that I have blocked right now. But anyway, if you haven't ever used it, I've been using this one. I've used quite a few different ones over the years, but I've been using it. Let's see. Pretty sure I started using it when I was running Windows, but see on permissions. Of course, see all those permissions? You wouldn't want to let anybody do that, but they have a good reputation, and so I'm not worried about them being able to do all that stuff. They have to. They can't block data of all websites you visit. They can't block them if they don't know where you're going. So that sounds pretty crappy right there, but they have I've never had any trouble with them. I've never had any, pop anything coming from because of them or from them or. Anyway, I'm way off the track. So, I made so many test videos and I got sidetracked talking on them that my throat's already written raw. Let me check my audio. Yeah, finally we got a good green stream, and the other night, I did 3 or 4 streams, and every one of them, well, they were just going red and yellow, red, green, yellow, red, green, but I killed them I was messing with my router, and I accidentally turned it off once, and I don't know how many different stupid things I did that night, but, okay, so, there's a VAS cleaner. A VAS has pretty good stuff. I use the antivirus. That's my favorite antivirus, a VAS antivirus. But those plugins and add-ons for it, they start running all the time and use up too much memory, too much cache being saved on the device. And they have plenty of ads. I don't know if they're any worse than anybody else's. And if you're into Linux, you might notice KDE desktop. That it actually will work in other desktops, but it quit working. It would allow you to do some remote. I forgot what you could do. I ended up not using it anymore. Set of features to integrate your workflow across. It was pretty cool because you could say, like, send this link to your desktop, or send this link, web page you're viewing, send this to your phone. It's pretty cool. Like one thing that's really cool on phones is you can do the voice search. Sometimes that's really helpful, quick, and easy. And so for a while there, I would do a voice search on the phone and then use it to send that to my desktop so I could see it to read it, because I can't see small text. And a lot of other things. You could, share files. If I would shut up and read or let you read it, you might be able to see what it says it does. Let's see. Yeah, copy and paste between devices, files, URLs, notifications of SMSs and stuff on your PC. That I wouldn't want. Virtual touchpad. Use your phone screen as your computer's touchpad. Oh, well, if you had a laptop with a broken touchpad, that might be useful. But anyway, it just got to where it wouldn't run. Of course, I run Mate, the Genome clone, Genome 2 clone, Genome Desktop. And because they quit, they went to Genome 3, and I don't like it at all. On Fedora. Now, I'm running Fedora 28 right now. But if you like KDE Desktop, it'll run on any version of Linux that I know of. And it might still work in there, I don't know. Sync. Multimedia remote control. Use your phone as a remote. I tried fiddling with that, but to me it was more fiddly than just... if you were using... say if you had there's several of those apps I have on Mom's tablet that are pretty cool for playing. Like, you can search a video and then send it to the TV. We don't have a smart TV, but we have a smart DVD player, and then you can send it to that. But I don't go in there and watch TV. I watch everything I watch in here, so I never have used it, and they haven't used it either. My mom, I got her that 10-inch tablet thinking, well, maybe the bigger tablet she could use it, but she just gets lost in it, doesn't know can't remember what to do. Let's see, what's this? Wi-Fi connection. No USB wire or Bluetooth needed. Oh, yeah, goes over Wi-Fi. It's encrypted. Still has good ratings. Maybe it's been a long time since I tried it. It might be working again. But it seemed like it wasn't being developed it was back, behind on development. It was. I mean, you could look at the last updates, and it was long, 2 or 3 years ago. Automatic. This was pretty cool, but I never found anything for myself to use it for. Automate anything on your phone. Google handwriting. I guess I tried it and then took it off but you can, write on your phone with it you can use your fingernail, but whatever. If you had used to those Palm Pilots and stuff had not a scribe, but what did they call those little plastic things to draw, like a pen, but with no ink, This right here, finally to something that I actually wanted to do. Okay, so Google Goggles I thought was pretty cool. I didn't use it real often, but it would help you find things real quick. Like, see, I barely remember what it would do. Yeah, it says, oh, okay, Google Goggles is going away. That's why I need to take it out, because I tried to use it the other day and it said that. So I got it on everything, so I need to take it off, but just do what I can right here. But the new Google Lens is here to help you explore your world. With Lens, you can find products, learn about landmarks, scan text, and more. With Goggles, you could use the camera, and it would take a picture of whatever you pointed it at, and then it would look it up for you, and it was pretty good. I just didn't really need to use it real often, but sometimes you might have something you didn't really know, a physical device, electronics, or I don't know, a little electric motor or something, didn't have a tag on it, and you take a picture of it, be surprised at how close it would get finding it, more of them on the line, and where you might buy a new one and stuff. That was what I was trying to get to. I haven't tried the Lens, so I don't know what it's like. But they're not doing this Goggles anymore. I don't guess it was ever real popular. So I'm going to do that. I don't know if it's. I want to help. That'll help me keep track of my apps. And I was trying to remember the one they recommended, and I wasn't sure what it was. So I put it in my Android apps bookmarks. Golly, that was long, wasn't it? Oh, I don't know. Doesn't matter. I don't know what I was thinking. A lot of times I put the part I copy and paste, I put it in parentheses, so I don't know that that's what I put in there. All right, now the point being here, phone over here is probably, it's asleep. I'm going to wake it up. Oops. I'm going to have to pick it up. I don't necessarily, it's not like people wouldn't have, the pattern. I don't want to share my pattern. But you would have to have the phone to use that pattern. But anyway, I didn't make a scene to show the endoscope and the desktop together, so I can't do that. You always think, see, I've got too many scenes as it is. You have to page. I don't like having to page up and down, because then I forget, I don't see things. But looking at my backup video, and I can see that everything's fine on my video up there, my preview. I like to keep it playing all the time. But check the audio. Yeah. But I can't, I can't listen to myself on delay there, and I don't think anybody can do that. But, okay, now, it'd be nice if I had, this is only my stuff. The tablet I can't do from this account. But, Google Goggles, this item isn't available. Oh. So it's not going to let me, now normally you can, when it says installed, you can click on it and say uninstall, unless they've changed how that works. So that's what I thought I was going to get to do. And when I was fixing to do this last night at about 12 or 1, and I thought, you know what, this would be good to make a video, because I was going to do a bunch of maintenance on the phone, so I thought this would be kind of a good video. So I spent all night, up until about 7 in the morning there, I noticed it was just after 7 when I got started on my stream, getting things set up. Okay, so anyway, well, I'll be able to tell, where's that lens, Google Lens. I think I put that in my wish list. Let's find out. I can put it in there if I didn't. Is there only one Google Lens? Let's see. Sometimes you got to watch out because, yeah, you got to watch out because there'll be all these copy things. Like some of them won't even be real apps. They'll just be how to use Google Lens. Oh, it's incompatible with all my devices. Incompatible. You got to pay attention because it says compatible or incompatible. So, so I can't do anything. I can't put it on my devices. What does it use? Microphone, camera. Oh, Goggles didn't do all this. It's got a lot of. Google just loves to see everything you got on your devices, don't they? They're probably the most intrusive. Well, I don't know if they're the most, but they're one of the most intrusive. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I won't copy. That's what I was trying to do in the first place. Was I was trying to copy that and it won't let me. Incompatible. I'm going to do it that way. Do that. Okay. Now, I still got to get it off of there. And I guess I'll just, what I would like is, yeah, I'll just leave that where it is. I really didn't know where I need a break all of a sudden. Well, I guess I won't be able to go more in a few more minutes here, but I think I'll try to go ahead and get that off of there just to stop at a better breaking point, better stopping point. Here's what I'm thinking. I did set this up, dual view here. So yeah, I guess when I have to take a break, I should go ahead and hook up my my wireless mic because I'm going to end up needing it. I can turn this around pretty far, but not far enough, I don't think. Yeah, where I have my that might work. Just there. Okay. Yeah. But I'm having to look over my shoulder. But here's what I can do here. I don't know how well this is going to work out. Oh, I can zoom in. I don't know how grainy it'll get. Yeah, okay, yeah. Talking about reaching over the moon to try to do stuff. Oh yeah, like I said, I've done it before. But okay, now here's how. Yeah, I knew you wouldn't be able to see that real good, but at least you can kind of tell what I'm doing. Is that all-in-one-toolbox? It's not close enough for me to see. If I have the, let's try the just endoscope. Because I think maybe it'll show it better. Yeah. And I can see it by the preview to operate the app, even though I'm having to look over my shoulder. Okay. So, the first screen there is, this is all-in-one toolbox that I like so much. First screen there is, still can't read what's there. is the Clean Boost and Battery Saver, which I don't use that. I think some of that is plugins you got to add on. Up at the top is where you get to the different sections. And the clean is the one how you clean up the cache and everything. And you can also tell it to, if you use that add-on, that plugin, then you can tell it have it automatically clean. But the problem with that is when you're running a 24/7 webcam, it will delete all the cache while it's recording a video, and then it crashes the app or makes it freeze up or something. So I tried that, and that just couldn't do that. Okay. What I'm looking for is the uninstall apps. It cleans all the crap out besides just the app. If you just use the Android uninstaller, then there is. I've tried it both ways, and you can tell. You can see how much you're deleting. When you go ahead and use the cleanup. So I just always go straight to this one's uninstaller. First, I got to find it. And I've noticed that some of these phones I've left too full for too long, and they haven't updated. And so the interface is really different on this one. It's the old interface, I think, than one or two of my other phones. App Manager, Advanced Clean. Advanced Clean is a little. It doesn't really add. You still can't read that, can you? But if I go down lower, then you can only see a portion of the phone. So I thought, well, at least I'll show the whole thing. App Manager. I have to use a magnifying glass to read it. I can almost read it if I hold it in the right place, but I'm not in a good place for myself. And going through those apps, it made me remember, there may be one or two remote phone top apps, I call them, desktop apps for phones that I might try one that might work, and I could make a nice video of doing this stuff. But I decided to go ahead and just I can't put anything on in these things until I get some of these apps off. And I have two for sure that don't SMS. It pops up and says SMS is no longer supported. I don't know if it's I don't have any phone service on here, so it can't be the phone service telling me that. It must be. I have never had a single update on the operating system, so I don't really know what the deal is. I know it came with the phone. It came with it. Oh, this thing's going nuts, doing its own thing here. What happened there? It's an ad. I've never seen it do that while I'm in the middle of a screen. It only does it when you try to exit, usually. It's definitely no good. Oh, these are the apps. Okay. Finally got to where I can see them. I need 3 hands because I need one to hold the magnifying glass and one to hold the phone still. There. Okay, with one hand I'm holding the handle that wouldn't handle on the phone, and with the other one I can finally try and do something. But the rubber bands are in the way, too. What am I looking for? Goggles, yeah. I think I've already passed it. I think I was way up close to the top. QR Droid, I want to put, that's a good QR code scanning app. I want to put that on it won't move, on the tablet. And I got all sidetracked, deciding to do a video. There it is, Google Goggles. Oops, Goggles, open. I missed the spot. Come on. I can't see it. Oh, the rubber bands are over it. You may have to, sometimes, you can just click somewhere in the area, and sometimes you got to click right where the little box is, and this is the case here. I don't want to take this out of here, out of the rubber bands, because it's a pain to get it all back. If I can keep from it, maybe I can just move them. think so. It's really hard to tell if I'm on the right line. Yeah, I think so. It's going to ask me again, uninstall, I believe. Confirmation. I don't know if it's saying the name of the app or not. I wonder if this would work. It just says one app will be uninstalled. So let's get, I can read that better. I could not read it to save my life. I can read it better on the preview. Yeah, that's goggles. Okay. So I'm going to uninstall. Is she sure that's what you want to do? Yes, that's what I want to do. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the rubber band. Maybe I can. Okay, now it asks you one more time. Now it says, do you want to uninstall goggles? I thought it made sure you wanted to. You can do multiple all at once, but it's so hard to get fiddly do this. I think I'll look for a remote phone top app next and see if I can do this from remote phone top. But because this is harder than I thought it was going to be. I kind of forgot about the rubber bands and all. Okay, so that's off. Let me see while I'm here. Let's see if there's an SMS app in here. There's this. Another thing is, you know, the apps that came with your Android, you can't uninstall them in the normal Android app manager, but in something like this toolbox, you can go into a certain section and uninstall system apps, they call them. Android. Get to where it's still. That was actually better like that, wasn't it? That Wi-Fi Analyzer is a good app. I'm not getting any response out of my screen. I'm trying to look over there at the preview. I'm looking over my right shoulder at the preview on the computer in OBS. Auto Task. Yeah, that's the plugin for All-in-one-toolbox. VR Cinema. I really don't need that, do I? How big is it? Some of them are so small, I just left them on there because I can't remember them to find them again. And even if I look through my list of apps, I don't remember. Like I was trying to tell you about some of them, I couldn't remember. I was like, why is that even in there is what I was thinking. I don't remember that. All-in-one toolbox. Yeah, I don't see Total Commander. But 2 megabytes is something to sneeze at on this with only 2 gigabytes of onboard. That's I do install my apps to the SD card, but there's a whole bunch of it that stay, especially the caching portion of it. I've figured out stays behind on the onboard drive, and so it'll fill you up way quicker than you'd ever think, even with the rest of the app on your SD card. And some of them, the system apps, you can't. A lot of them won't let you move them to the SD card. Okay, so that is, yeah, the last app on the list. So I never saw. So all we gained was not too much there, but it's a broken app, so there's no point in being on there. Now, when you always use the back button to get out because it's just easier for me to hit. But every time you get, this is one thing that, oh, it went back. Oh, when you try to close the app, what's it got red lines on there for? Oh, those are yellow. But yeah, this is a good time to go ahead and hit clean, I guess. I was going to do that, so hit that little broom. I don't think it took. Yeah, there it went. It's slower than you think sometimes. So, where's the... I think we're getting another ad. It didn't used to do this. I think they've started a new tactic. is starting to pop up ads. Used to, the only time I really saw ads is when there'd be text ads in the middle of everything trying to trick you into clicking on them, but actual ads popping up. No, this is not an ad. It's telling you what's going on with the cleaning. So, I think it's still scanning. Wait, let's see. Oh, 43.7, so it didn't have much in there. Just the Google Maps, that's all. It wasn't an ad after all. I just couldn't see it. I think I missed it to touch. These phones are messed up too. They don't touch. They don't take where you touch them. Because what's this? It didn't. No, I don't want to uninstall it. I can try. Well, I never did move that to SD card, I think, because I thought, what if I wanted to use it without it being on SD card? But let's see if it'll do it. I don't really ever use them without their SD card. Well, I have. But if I was going somewhere, I don't think I would be. What does it say? Well, now it made it go the other way. Uninstall and disable. I'm just going to get out of there. I don't know. I think I might have touched the wrong thing. I can see, I don't know if it's, I can see, you know, it makes a little shadow that shows where you're touching. It's doing it up in the middle. I don't know if I cleaned or not, but I'm not going to do it again. It wasn't really, usually when I clean it, it's 350 to 450 megabytes. So that's when it needs it, you know. But put it back down there because I can't touch the, okay, there's one of those ads, and I do not care how. Now, part of it is, I'll show that in a minute. Let me see if I can get out of here. I can't tell where it is. Okay, it just went back to that screen. Even when it's always been really hard to get it to shut down. It went to the ad instead. I don't care how carefully you touch the exit, it still opens up a page with the ad. And I think it'll do it 2 or 3 times, once to 3 times, and then finally it'll let you close. But if you see, it's got another one up there, and I was just trying to do it without. Let me get to where I can let you see what I'm talking about. See, there it is, install and exit. At least it doesn't actually install it. Now this phone is even in more trouble because it went somewhere again. No, it closed. It finally closed that time. So it went back to wherever it was, you know, where I had opened up All-in-One Studios. Now it's back to the home screen because I hit home. But look at this, and you will see why it's even worse than ever. That battery is so swollen, it's pulling the body away from the screen, and so it's making it act wonky. So he doesn't sense the touch where you're actually at anymore. And but the batteries show up to be in good health, and the well, that Amper app that I like, I think I took it off for space-wise because it's like 17 megabytes, but every time I check them with any kind of battery app, they all show to be good. But I got 3 one of them's so swelled, it's outgassing. It's when the batteries start getting old, they'll begin to outgas. They make, I think it's hydrogen gas, and those little plastic bags, those batteries are in, are really good. Let me get off of here and get back on the camera. The batteries are good. Camera. Oh yeah, let's zoom out. Zoom out and then swing it around. I don't want to swing it around with it zoomed because it'll really be hard on the eyes. But what was I saying? Oh, the bags are good because they have not all 3 of these phones, identical batteries. They haven't any of them busted or anything. Here's one of them, the one that I can't. It's so swelled. it won't. Even if you force it into the phone and get the lid on it, it will. It swells so much it will it swells more when you're charging them. So if you plug them in or charge them, they will disconnect those contacts from the contacts in the phone, and it'll shut down. You can't use it. And this swelling here is what makes that screen blow up. I think there's pressure being put on the screen in certain places from that bowing. And I can't believe that those backs will even snap on there. With this one, like I said, is the worst one, and I've just given up on trying to get it. I kind of hated. I paid $15 for the phones 3 or 4 years ago, and I kind of hated to spend another $16 per phone to get batteries for them. But they work fine. And one thing I kind of thought is, if I can. I've studied a lot on the custom ROMs and the apps to install, your own ROMs and everything. And if I can get it's getting to where less and less support for these phones, for the Android 4 point whatever that I have on there, 4.0 or 1 or 5 or whatever it is, can't remember. And that way, if I've been wanting to do it ever since I got them, but I was scared at first. I didn't want to ruin them and break them, But if I made my own ROM, with what I want, or just find one that has pretty much what I want and get rid of. There are so many apps that Google put on there that I have no use for. And like I said, you can uninstall system apps, some I guess all of them, or at least not all of them, I think, but most of them with All-in-one-toolbox or some other app like that. But it warns you when you're doing it, this may mess up the functionality of your phone, and it generally does. And I mean some stupid app like Google Reader, Google Music Play or something. It's probably not even supported anymore either. Like goggles, they're so old now. And they're taking up quite a bit of space. They're not small. Some of them are small, but it's not just the size of the app, but all the cache. And I mean, I don't care how much you try to turn them off. Even with All-in-one-toolbox, you can tell things not to start up, and they'll quit starting up for 1 or 2 reboots, and then they're back to starting up again. And I got tired of fighting them, and all kinds of old apps on there that I could get probably a quarter to even a half of the space back on the, and you can't move those. Well, you might be able to move them to the SD card, but then they probably wouldn't function right or something. If they don't function right, then it messes other things up. So I'm looking at it, trying to think about what I was. But they're too little for me to see without the magnifying glass. So anyway, goggles is gone away, and these phones, I imagine the phones could run the new app, but the operating system's too old. So if I updated my operating system, then that would change what I can do with it. And the other thing I wanted to do even more than that, or I did, I'm not as keen on it now because all I've ended up really using these for it is the cameras, mostly because they're so small and I can't see them. And another thing is I really can't stand touch screens. Cannot type on those things at all. That's why I ended up getting an OTG adapter cable so that I can use a real keyboard, and that's okay, but it's still hard. It's just nothing like using a desktop. Of course, if I was out going places all the time, I would just go nuts without either a big tablet, like a 10-inch tablet, or a laptop that was, the ones I have are heavy, and I've carried them around. They wear you out. I've got a big old laptop bag, everything, but they wear me out because I'm old and tired. But so anyway, yeah, if I was out running around a lot, I would probably want a 10-inch tablet to carry around. But that's when I would probably get into. There are ways to, just a couple of ways to do it. There's some Linux distributions that are made now to run on touch devices like a laptop with a touchscreen or a tablet. And they would run just as well on a phone too. Of course, this means small. I wouldn't have any use for something that small. But installing real Linux on a tablet would be just awesome to me, and use it. I mean, like, it's not so bad to have a touch screen for me if I can alternate between a mouse and the touch. I can do that on this tablet here with this wireless mouse and keyboard. And I have bought this for Mom, and she never picked it up and never used it. It's really nice. Good little keyboard. Works really well. A little weird because it's so much smaller than your regular keyboard, but it works good. It wasn't a lot of money. It doesn't have a mouse, and you don't need one with a touchscreen, really. You know, if you're using a tablet, especially, that's what it's kind of designed for, to use with a tablet. But you can set that in front of the tablet and just type away, and that makes the tablet just a tablet and the keyboard. I can use that. I don't love it, but I can use it without going nuts. But anytime I have to type in a password or anything, it'll be 20 minutes trying to get that right in those stupid. And I don't know if I didn't mention it, but I saw the Hacker's Keyboard app. I don't know why they call it Hacker. It's just a keyboard that instead of the Android keyboard, you have to mash numbers to get numbers and letters to get letters. Well, and everything's just weird and doesn't work like a regular keyboard. And this one is much more like a regular keyboard. You can put it all the keys are in the little screen, the touch screen, the numbers and I can use that. But the Android itself fights to make I think it won't even let you uninstall Android keyboard. I think I got mad once and tried to uninstall it. It wouldn't let me, even with the all-in-one toolbox. But probably wouldn't be a good idea anyway, because all the swipe and all that depends on it, so it's every time I set the Hacker's keyboard to the default keyboard, reboot once, maybe 3 times, it'll stay, and then boom, it's back to being. You have to go with 3 or 4 or 5 menus to turn it back on, so I don't use it unless I'm really desperate. Usually what I do now is use, like on the tablet, I'll use, well, it depends. If I'm in here, I'll just grab my wireless. I have a wireless keyboard up here and the mouse over here right by my other mouse. I'll just plug in that adapter and use it that way. Sometimes I'll just grab that keyboard and use it. But so I'm going to have a break, and that was so fiddly doing that one app I've got. I want to try to see about SMS. I can't. I either got to get my wireless mic on so that I can go over there and stay over there, or, well, there's another thing I can do. That's move that table over here so that I'm looking, down here and up here at my preview, and it actually helps me then. Or get my, well, I might still want the wireless mic so that I don't have my mic in the way, I was able to move it. Just what I was doing is I was reaching out about this far, and that's why I couldn't see a thing, even with this thing right here, magnifying glass. But putting that table, the reason I don't want to put that table over here is because it's extremely uncomfortable. It makes my back and neck hurt to set at that thing with it. It's all the time. That's why I thought, okay, I put it over there and I can reach over to it and then get back, But anyway, that wasn't so great. Not for any kind of more work that I want to do. So what I think I'll do, I'm going to look through I'll come back, I'll get on the desktop, and I'll look through the list of apps that I haven't tried yet. And, well, I'll finish where I left off and see what's in there as far as remote control apps, remote desktop control apps. I know the ones I've tried already, and I don't want to mess with them again. They just, even if they work really good for 5 or 10 minutes, then they just get worse and worse, and they're not usable or not. So I don't want to do that, and maybe try a new one. Thing is, you have to be able to control them with just a standard remote desktop app like I have here on my Linux system. If you have to install a companion app in Windows, then I don't do Windows. Only thing I have that's Windows is a Windows XP virtual machine that I can run on here. I just got tired of messing with 2 or 3, I don't know how years ago. I was always kept Windows machines where in case I need one, and then I would have machines. I've got quite a few old machines that my old neighbor used to give me. Usually what happened is he would do like set up email and do stuff like that for older people. And then when they would have trouble with their machine, sometimes he'd bring them to me and I would fix them, hardware and software or whatever, or clean them of viruses when they get really bad off. And sometimes they would get struck by lightning, for instance, and then I would look at them and then say, and tell them what it would take to fix it, and then they say, well, I've got insurance and I'm just going to buy a new machine, and then they'd end up giving me the old one, or I'd say, well, I'll give you a break on the labor from all the diagnosis and everything, and I was only charging $60 to do that. But go to one of those stores and see what they charge. It used to be $100. I bet it's a lot more than that now. To do one virus scan, and in one virus scan doesn't do crap. You need to scan until it's clean. Which the last time I did that was 10 scans with 10 different scanners. So I had Windows XP on that Dell. It's still on there and it's messed up and won't work, and I haven't taken it off. It's I've got Domain 8 and Windows XP. That I do have XP on that Dell 6000 laptop. That's Domain 8's my server. And I should have just erased. I think I just forgot what kind of state it was in when I put Domain 8 on there. But it's wasted space. It's not usable. It's so slow. I've scanned it. It doesn't show up to have any malware. But I don't know. Maybe when I deleted files that slowed it down, but didn't break the operating system. The XP completely. Usually, what happens is you break it, and then you got to fix it. Restore the system or reinstall it. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, I had Windows 7 on two desktops and a laptop or something, and somehow I think what happened is I was going through this. I noticed I was going through a bunch of old webcam apps looking for something that I'd already downloaded, some up to even 10 years ago. I have hard drives full of stuff I've downloaded. I used to love downloading freeware and shareware until I learned about Linux. And I was trying webcam apps that I'd had and never used. Well, the thing is, sometimes they come with a Trojan downloader or something, and you don't know it. You haven't even tried to install it. And sometimes sometimes some kind of malware gets on the system, and it crawls through there and infects everything it can. Good thing about Linux, it won't hurt that, but the bad thing is I'm not running any, Avast with real-time notifications or anything. So, and I was being risky. I started just opening them up and seeing what the installer looked like and seeing if I wanted to try to use it. And I did about on the third one, boom, Avast went off. I was on one of the Windows 7 machines. I don't remember which one, probably the laptop. The other laptop, the Dell 1525 that Mom's using right now. And it's like, oh no. And so I had deleted it, and I went ahead and scanned the drives that I was, that I hadn't scanned the whole drives in a while. I had scanned them over the years, but not in a while. And for viruses and stuff. And made sure everything was clean. Nothing's ever 100% clean when it comes to malware. And I don't care, even if you scan that system and you can't just scan it from within Windows. I didn't say that. I use rescue systems. Usually they're almost all of them that I use are based on Linux. They run a Linux operating system, and then it can be Avast. It could be, I tried Komodo, but I don't trust them. They're made in China. Especially don't trust them now. But 10 years ago, I figured out I didn't trust them. But they're there to put malware on your system. I don't care if it does call itself an antivirus. Anyway, I can't think of all the names of the other ones. Clam AV is the main one. Avast used to have a version that would run on Linux, but they quit supporting it. Clam AV, there may be another one, but Clam AV is the one that I use that is made for Linux, and I do use it all the time. But you had to manually turn it on, It does have a function that will do real-time scanning, but it doesn't. I've never been able to get it to work in Fedora. It looks like it would work by default in Debian, but only thing I run Debian on is my server. There's some particular dependencies that I can't get to work. I never have been able to for all these years. So Anyway, it's a very good scanner, and but you really it's kind of half automatic and half manual. You run it, and then you got to go through results, and you need to understand your system and Linux well enough to know what needs to be deleted and what's okay. Not so. And you can run it on Windows. I think there's a version for Windows. So, but you can run it in the rescue system, boot it to whatever the rescue systems you can download. They'll use whatever Linux distro that they think works well for them, for their setup. And then that doesn't matter when you're just scanning for viruses. You just boot it up and use it, read the instructions, see how to, and make sure some of them automatically update the virus definitions, and sometimes the whole software suite, and some of them you have to do it manually. But anyway, so it's a lot of work. So that's why it doesn't always get, you don't do it as often as you know you should. No matter which way you go, it's a lot of work. If you just you can't just depend on Avast or any other real-time scanning, because every day or two, there is, somewhere in the world, there's a new malware that can skip by that real-time scanning, whatever brand it is. And by the time it goes off, your system's hit, And if you're going to really serious about keeping your system clean, you need to boot it to a rescue system and start scanning. And what I've learned is keep scanning until you have zero comebacks of, malware or any sort. That's why I say I kept doing it. The last time I did, I guess that was last couple of times I did when it was 10 times. But anyway, I got off my story about the Windows 7 systems that I used to have. I never really used them much, and when you get on them, then it's been months, and then they all need updating, and then they'll leave you alone and let you just use the system. Well, it didn't happen right away. I was talking about the webcam software that I was trying out. Most of it was pretty old stuff. Some of it was within the last year. This is about 3 years ago, I guess. And so I scanned all of my files that I had. I wasn't even downloading new stuff, just trying it. I knew I had so many ones that surely I had something to do what I wanted it to do. And so I cleaned everything up on that system. And then a few days later, I got on another one. And I don't remember if it was just like running really bad or what, but it turned out that if that was either that was it or some other way that I never did figure out. I got a malware that could crawl, a network virus is what they used to call it, malware that could crawl through the network and infect every other Windows machine that had been turned on the network. And lots of times I would turn on 2 or 3 or 4, even 4 machines at the same time and work back and forth. I used to could do that. I can't really do it anymore. But you see how much trouble I have just trying to use what I have here to do the video. The machine, it made the machine run bad. I mean, it made you notice it because it made it run really, it was slowing down real bad and everything. And so I got so tired of messing with that crap. I mean, there's nothing but trouble always with Windows, ever since when I very first got into computers in when I really got into it in 98 and got on the internet and really started enjoying it. I was running Windows 3.1.1, and I ran that for years. So I skipped Windows 95 and went to Windows 98. Wait a minute, how did I do that? I must have got on there before 98 because we got Windows 98 in 98, maybe 99, but I don't think so. So, and I was using that 3.1 for 3 years at least. I guess I've got the date wrong of when I really started getting on. I got on AOL is what it was, dial-up. Anyway, and at first, there was no virus software on the computer, and I started learning about downloading stuff, free programs and all that, and I started learning about, McAfee and different virus software, and it was free, and started putting that on there. And back then, you could run 2, even 3 of them, but, you have enough system resources. I usually ran 2 simultaneously. And then after a few years, they began to fight each other, and you couldn't do that anymore. They actually used to recommend you did that, ran 2 or 3 different malware virus programs. And didn't have much trouble at all until I didn't have any major infections or anything until I started having lots of trouble in Windows 98. The first troubles I had were things like, oh, remember Bonsai Buddy? If anybody remembers Bonsai Buddy, I thought it was a lot of fun. You know, a little bird popping up and talking to you on your computer. Turned out the whole darn thing was malware. And so we crawled through the operating system and slowed it down, made the computer hardly run. It didn't, as far as I know, it did. I don't remember really the details of what all it, it did, and the company went broke and everything. I think it was I think it told you the weather too. I don't know that. Well, that was WeatherBug. WeatherBug was a bug, and they still have it on these weather website. They want you to download it to get to weather. The original WeatherBug was a bug. It was nothing but malware-ridden crap. And crawling through your computer, it was doing the same kind of things like Facebook does, and tracking you, and Facebook and everybody else, and Google tracking you, and but it would send. It didn't send pop-ups on your desktop. That kind of stuff kind of started a few years later, but it would send ads, of course, in the app. All of those things, most of those things, had some kind of ads in the apps. That's why they were free. But most people didn't. I didn't know at first how insidious they were, tracking and seeing what you were doing, and of course, then it got to where things were trying to steal your passwords. And so anyway, what they mostly did back then in early, in 98, 99, early 2000s is track you and advertise to you and slow down your machine. It kept using up all your resources, all your internet. Imagine using up a bunch of internet bandwidth when you've got 28.8 modem, 28 kilobytes of internet speed. Imagine that. So it didn't take long to mess up your internet speed, I don't know. I do this back telling the whole history of why am I telling my history with malware all of a sudden? Okay, so the virus scanning. Okay, so but up until those, that's when I really started realizing what a problem it was and got really tired of it. But I did not find out until, my buddy had told me about it maybe a year before '05, but in 2005, he first told me about FreeBSD. He was running a server. He was running a server, and he was letting me run my website on the server. I ran my website on. That's what I did before. Between GoDaddy and me running my own server, I ran for maybe 2 or 3 years. I ran my websites on his server. He had one set up. He was running FreeBSD. He showed it to me once when I was over at his house, and he says, "You might be able to learn how to help me administrate this," because he saw that I was learning. He was a programmer. Him and his wife both are programmers, and especially his wife. He had for several years, quite a few years, he was doing a system admin job for American Airlines. And so he wasn't really programming, he was more in system admin. His wife just straight up took classes on programming, and that's what she probably still does to this day. I haven't talked to him much in the last few years, but this is back in, like I said, in '05. He told me about BSD, and I found the website, I looked it all up, and I thought this is the coolest thing ever. I didn't understand it, but this is on dial-up. I didn't know what I needed and what I didn't need, and usually with Windows freeware, it's up there for a few months to a couple of years, and then it's gone. They don't offer it anymore, So I went to that site every night when I'd go to bed. I left that connection to AOL on the phone. Nobody's trying to use the phone at night, but at 28.8, downloaded, and I downloaded 10 gigabytes, everything on that FreeBSD server. And I thought, I'll figure out what I want, what I don't want later, And it filled up my hard drive with it, and I still couldn't understand it. It was all brand new stuff, And it's BSD is very similar to Linux. It's a Unix-like operating system. That Linux and BSD were built after, sort of like a fork of Unix, I guess you might say. And anyway, his server, he didn't have a GUI. It was just a command line. And I was just like, I looked at him back to where he said, you might help me admin things. I said, oh man, it's just a command line. He goes, well, it's easy. And I said, well, and he told me a couple of commands to type, and I tried. And I told him, I said, I'm not good. My eyes swap letters and numbers. I'm not good at typing accurately. I'll try. And I tried a few things, and I had the hardest time getting it right. And so he didn't say no more about me doing that. But somewhere during all that time, he actually, I guess that happened after I got into Linux, and I began to start. I knew what command line was in Windows, and I only used it when I had to. But this is a whole different thing. Learning about root users and regular system users and everything, it's all different than the way Windows does it, or Windows did it back then. I think they've kind of gotten more like Linux now in Windows 10. But I've been helped somebody install Windows 10 once or twice, but I haven't ran it. I don't want to mess with it. But anyway, in 05, he said, at some point there, he said, well, you might like Linux. I guess he might have gone in circles. At some point, he says, you might like Linux. It's a little easier, I think, is about all he really said. And so I looked it up, found the whole world of Linux, and the first thing I found was, what was it called? It was a remix of Fedora is what it was. Fedora Linux is what I've been running since like Fedora 9 came out. I started out on 5, I think it was. Yeah. It was Fedora 5, but it was a remix called, I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, it was everything, including the kitchen sink. There's an app called Kitchen Sink. I think somebody was being funny. It doesn't do nothing remotely related to plumbing, but or cleaning out your cash drains or anything. I'm just making stuff up here, but it had every app that you need and more, already in it. You just download the ISO and install it. And I ran that from 5 to 9. And in 9, it was broken and it wouldn't work. And so I had learned by then that it was based on Fedora. So I went and looked at Fedora because it's what I already understood. They call it an RPM-based distro. The install files are .rpm file extension, and the domains are .deb, and they have different mechanisms and things work differently. And so actually what I did, I went to Debian, right, when I first started having trouble with BLAG, B-L-A-G, BLAG Linux, that's what it was called. There's a guy in England, and that's some kind of a colloquial term in England. It means like all screwed up or all messed up or something. I didn't never know what it meant for several years, but I read it. I read all that on his website. He made that. He remixed Fedora into that, and it was real good. It was great, and there's people that had forums and everything, but he got stuff going on. He was doing it all by himself. He didn't even help, and he got stuff going on in his life, and he didn't have time to mess with it, and he didn't even have time to really tell everybody what was going on for a while. So it was 6 months or something before everybody found out, and then he brought it back, and he got it going again a couple of times, but by that time I went straight to Debian for 2 years. I ran Debian 5. Debian's numbers aren't the same as Fedora's. I ran Debian 4.5. And actually, if you've ever heard of Artist X Linux, that was the first year it came out. And what you did, they told you to do is install Debian H.5, Debian 4.5. And then they gave you, that's how I learned to do install scripts. They gave you you could copy and paste it into the, you could either you could make a script, but I learned that later, but you could just copy and paste it in the command line and hit enter. It's just a long list. All you have to do is, if you're in, like you say, apt-get install space, and then you put the app names with a space in between each one. You can't have any returns or anything in there. And so I would get in a word processor and make my scripts that way. It worked fine as long as there wasn't any errors. If it got an error, it would just hang up. Well, theirs worked. They had already tested it out. And so it installed, if you haven't seen Artist X and you're into audio and video stuff, check it out. It runs on Ubuntu now, and I can't stand Ubuntu, but it ran on Debian originally. Debian's a remix of Debian Linux. And so anyway, it worked. I might have had a couple of restarts there getting that installed, but I used it for 2 years. And I thought I was going to learn about every app in there, and I learned some of them, but in day-to-day use, I didn't end up learning some of them I never tried, actually really tried to use. But it had everything from audio, video, MIDI, just everything you can imagine. But that really opened my eyes up to what else is available, And so the only thing I didn't like was, there was I was so used to a Fedora-based distro. There was a lot of things that you had to do in the command, or you didn't have to, but generally still to this day, when you look online and try to find out how to do things, everybody that codes Linux or writes anything about Linux, they only want to tell you how to do it in the command line. Well, I had figured out how to do almost everything in a GUI. Back then there was no end to the GUIs to do stuff. And so I would read the articles, and then I would go, okay, I know an app that'll do that. Or I would go into the repos, where you download the repositories and find an app that would do that. Now I just worked so hard at that because I learned in GUI in Windows, and and I'm not good at typing accurately. It was just still so frustrating. I'm worse now than I was back then. So then after 2 years of using Debian, that's when I guess that's actually when I went to Fedora 9. So I think I went from, I guess when it broke was probably, 7, 8, 9. It must have broke at Blag 7 is when it must have broke. It just completely, or I guess 8 was broken or whatever. I couldn't get it to work. I'm sure if you knew more than I did, you might have got it to work. But I remember the forums their forums were full of everybody saying, what's wrong with it, what's wrong with it, and people that said, I did this and this and this, and I could tell I did know enough to know they were more technical than I was, and everybody else was. There was something really broken. But anyway, you needed to be the guy that programmed the whole, well, he didn't program the whole thing. Anyway, he was a programmer, and he did build the distro, but he didn't write the base operating system as Linux, and then on Fedora distribution, so he built on that. That's what I'm trying to say. And the apps that are on there, he didn't write them all. He put them together and made them work on that together. That's what everybody does now, except for like the devs, developers for Fedora, developers for Debian. Well, and of course, Linus Torvalds. I used to call him Torvaldus, but I think it's Torvalds or something like that. He's the one, him and his whole team, the Linux Foundation, they write the Linux operating system, and then everybody else builds the distributions off of that. But so anyway, I got into Fedora, and I started learning more and more and more, and then I learned that little thing about writing, building. Well, I knew how to make a script, how to copy and paste the right stuff in to make a script. So then I started. I didn't want to. I guess the first Fedora 11 is the one I really remember. Just working month after month, finding apps, installing them, to get back up to what I had and more really than what I had with Black Linux. And that took so much time. I didn't want to do that over and over, so I figured out, how to make me a script so that if I moved up to the next version, I could run that. I could install it. The base system, because Fedora just comes with very basic stuff. It doesn't come with a lot of apps to this day, and so that's just the way they want to do it. So I would run my script, and what I used to do is there's different ways to run, find every app that's installed on your system. I can't remember the name of the app. Anyway, I'd run that app, get a list, just a text file of every app installed in the system. The only thing is it's got a lot of stuff that's dependencies that may, Well, they may work in Fedora 11, but they don't work in Fedora 12 or 13, or even the further I got. When I got up into Fedora 17, it just wasn't really working anymore. 17, 18, 19, that old script, and I would have to start over, start from scratch, and then I would make a new script, and it just got to where, usually you would get 98 to 99% of working apps, but they got worse and worse, and sometimes some of the stuff that got installed was legacy stuff that would kind of conflict with the new apps, the new version of Fedora. So I quit running those install scripts that I made that way. And then in the last 3 or 4, 5 years, I don't even know anymore, I discovered and learned how to use group installs in the command line. I started learning more and more about the command line because the GUI apps, a lot of them started going away. Some of my favorite GUI apps, they just quit. They're gone. They're not in the new repos. Fedora or Debian sometimes. People, I'm sure, just they didn't make any money at it, and so they quit. And get enough donations, so they quit doing it, or whatever other reasons. Maybe they went to work for Microsoft or something, started making more money. By the way, Linus always has worked for Microsoft. He's done projects for them all along. I didn't know that until a couple of years ago. He was saying, I don't hate Microsoft like a lot of these other people do. A lot of Linux enthusiasts hate Microsoft. And what I hated about Microsoft was two things: the virus infection problems, which is, it's not mostly their fault. I don't think it's any operating system's fault. They're trying to make a good system that works well, and then other people attack it. But the way they treated their customers, they always tried to force you to, every year they're trying to force you to buy the next, or every couple of years to buy the next operating system, and constantly going up and up in price. They finally got, and when Linux started getting to be a big enough deal, they started realizing they're going to have to back down a little bit on that. I don't know how. Well, now they do that. Office 360. I never used it. Don't have no need for it. OpenOffice or LibreOffice are to me better than any Microsoft Office stuff anyway. Completely free and open source. I don't know, Windows, Linux, or I don't know about what else. I think they may run on Mac now too. But so I learned how to make scripts, and so I already know how to make that install script from apps that was already on my old system. Now I learned how to make some scripts. Just have a few basic 4 lines of code, and then put everything below it, all the apps you want. But instead of doing every single app, you could use, you got to find the commands. Look up Fedora, Linux, group installs, and you'll find a bunch of articles. Anyway, I found a real good step-by-step article, a series of them, and found out how to find out what groups are available, find out which ones are installed and which ones aren't on your system, and so then I would make me a script with what the groups of apps that I wanted. The only drawback to that is I did it on this system, is you don't, a lot of them, I don't remember the names of everything that I want, and the dependencies are going to be in there too. They're usually not listed in the group install. They're usually automatically done by the app management, whatever app management you're using. Whatever DNF is what Fedora uses now. Used to be Yum, but YUM, I think. But so, and I'm always app happy. I see something looks interesting, I want to try it, and so I would say, okay, this group looks cool. I would read enough to see what I thought I was getting, and some of them have, 5 or 10 apps. Some of them have 50 to 100 things that are come with it. So I kept doing that on this system little by little. I installed stuff that probably conflicted with other stuff, and it won't. And it's trying to boot up with the system, but it can't. It's failing. And I have never wanted to get in there and try. I have got in there a few times. I tried to just get in there. It suggested commands to run to fix this problem, and I did it two or three times. And it said it fixed it, but it never. It takes this machine used to boot up so fast. I mean, it was under 30 seconds, less than that probably. Now it takes like 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes to boot up because it's always trying to do some things that can't be done. It still ran. It did run fine. It's actually, I don't know if it's getting slower. It's getting slower. I don't know if it's, well, it's not getting a lot of updates anymore. The only reason I'm even safe on the internet is because I have Firefox running what I call standalone mode. It checks for updates and updates itself independent of the system updater. All those updates I really get anymore on this system is security updates. And it won't be long till we won't be getting them when I absolutely have to do something. I was going to install Fedora 29, I was going to do 30, and now 31's out. It's just, but because of this whole long story, that's why I haven't done it, because I have to start over. Although it would really be a benefit because I could if I would just not let myself go script happy. I mean, install script happy, group install script happy, then I wouldn't put junk on there that I actually never have time to fool with. Okay, desktop. And get over here. I'll give you a little example. I'm off on a sidetrack, but let's just run with it. Here is my accessories. Here's my educational software. Here's the electronic software that I want. Some of it I actually know how to use, and some of it I want to learn. About 5 of them maybe I know how to use, not really well. Like there's some IDEs that I've used. I've learned a little bit about programming for Arduinos and MSP430s, TI boards and stuff. And I never, well, over the years, my mind just I can't comprehend things I'm reading well anymore, and can't remember what I just read and can't remember what I just saw in a video anymore. I used to be really good at remembering videos. So there's some internet apps, office apps, and yeah, I've got LibreOffice on here. I used to use OpenOffice, and then LibreOffice came out, and they said it was more open than OpenOffice and all that. They had all kinds of junk going around. But anyway, I think LibreOffice comes with Fedora now. Is why I got it. It was already there, and I didn't have to install it. They're almost identical. But all this stuff I got from all this extra stuff. If you ever see Fedora, you'll know what I'm talking about. From running group installs, there's a very few of them that I manually install one thing at a time. Some that I really, really want, you know. Yeah, here's my Cheese webcam, VCV webcam, OBS Studio, the one I'm streaming with right now, simple screen recorder. Is another screen recorder I've used, VLC always. Usually I do install that manually because I have to do that. I can't stand not having it. And then there's all these audio. Audacity I use a lot. It's my go-to. Where's I don't know where it is, but I can't think of the name of it. My favorite video editing. I learned to use Jack pretty well. Well, I'd say I'd be about a 50% mode of being able to know what the heck I'm doing with it. It's an audio interface that can let you do amazing stuff, but it's really got a big learning curve, and that's from somebody that's been into the analog audio before digital audio, and then digital audio, learned it as it came out, you know. But door, what does that do? That might be the other. Some of these are multi-track audio recording programs. I think that might be the one that I actually was able to figure out by just looking around in it. And Audacity, you can do multi-track, but it's really like a two-track, and then you can add more tracks if you want. But it's not a DAW, D-A-W. It's not a digital audio workstation, really. It's not like those others, anyway. I don't know if somebody would argue and say yes, it is, but then Pulse Audio used to have to install it, but now it comes with Fedora, and that works along with ALSA to give you. That's all I need to do what I want to do with OBS and pretty much what I need to do. I don't need to jack. You have to like set it up, and then it has to start up. You either got to turn it on or start it up. It does use a little bit of resources too, but if you're really doing some multi-track stuff, Jack is a real good way to go. You do live multi-track with it. You can send it, you can set everything up to do what you want it to do and then send it to OBS. If you're doing streaming. Handbrake's a real good audio. I think it'll do audio too, but it's video remixer or encoder. I can't think of that. Can't think of all the names they call them, but it didn't used to run on Fedora, but it does use a lot of resources. I can't really, the only way I can really do any, like if I wanted to do 5 files, I would have to, get it going and then get away from the computer and don't try to do anything else. Not on this quad core with 4 gig of RAM. But I try to encode it in things that I don't have to re-encode them, because it's a lot of time and a lot of work. A lot of work for the machine. A lot of time getting it set up and messing with it. That's another DAW right there, non-mixer. KM Player is the only thing I've found that will play H.265 for me on my system here. VLC is supposed to, but it doesn't work. I don't know if it may be too old now, because, I'm running Fedora 28. That's probably the problem. Well, it says it does on their website, but I'm sure I don't have that. Well, at the time, though, when I got that camera, the H.265, that's what my security camera does. I checked, and I did have the newest VLC. So there's some kind of problem they were having at that time, last year. I guess 6 or 8 months ago. So I went nuts about sidetracking it, and now I'm just going with it. That's my favorite CD DVD burning application. ClamAV, that's the GUIKLAMAV. The actual application is a command line app, and it's CLAMAV. That KLAMAV is actually I like KDE apps. I just don't like to use the desktop. I always end up with a bunch of KDE. Everyone with a K in front is a KDE app. It's made to run on KDE desktop, but it'll run on Genome or Mate's what I run. I said I was going to take a break and then come back, and instead I jabbered until I can't talk anymore, so I don't know what I'm going to do now. Lucky backup. I have that set to run every day, 10 minutes after I boot. And back up everything to my USB hard drives. I have 2 of them. System monitor, that's the thing I always keep running. The one I like to keep running because it has, I like this because you can search. Like if I want to close, if I'm having trouble with Firefox, I'll do that. Just start searching for Firefox, and then I'll find the main app, click there, and then hit in process and force it to close. I can do that. If I leave it running all the time, I can do it right quick before my system locks up. Because sometimes you never know when some app might either go wonky, especially Firefox, because things that are on the internet, you're bringing stuff into websites that may not be written very well, and they're not malware, but they got memory holes in them, or usually it's memory holes. It's usually what it is. You'll look up there and the memory will, so you can do that. Hover over it. OBS is only using 375 megabytes of memory for, there may be there's only 2 processes with OBS, FFmpeg, but that's a muxer, that's a encoder, and then the main application. And the main thing that OBS does is use a pretty good amount of processing power. But see, that's only 4.8 megabytes for that's what's encoding the. Now I'm encoding to FLV, flash video format, because it works so. Doesn't use much resources, and it makes a good quality video. I can't see any, if I do MP4, I can't see any visual difference. So that was the default, and that's the way I've left it. I've tried out MP4 because I always used to use MP4 for everything because it was better quality than, and used to, when Flash was a big deal, Flash used more resources than any MPEG video of any kind. I started with MPEG videos from when it was first invented, and I always thought it was the best one. But for some reason, I don't know what it is, what OBS's studio programmers have been able to do, but it works encoding them in Flash. Now it is. The other day I was getting confused trying to say there's a container, and then there's the when it comes to the video encoding, there's your encoder and the container, I believe is the right word to say, and I kept getting twisted around between which one was which. But you can have an FLV that's encoded in several different ways. You can have an MP4 that's encoded in different ways. You can have an MP4 that's encoded in AVI, which is high quality, but doesn't stream. Or it's kind of weird because it depends on how you do an AVI. Some of them won't stream, period. You have to download them. You can't just start watching them like normal on the internet nowadays. Some of them will stream, but badly. They'll cache and they'll stop and jitter. But it's because it's trying to send so much high quality data, so much data, high quality video. But anyway, you go on and on. There's a whole world of that stuff. Let me see now. This is a system load. I don't use it real often, but it can be really helpful, especially if you're trying to figure out what's going on. Why is my system running bad? It's either going to be too much CPU or too much RAM. Mostly the problem I have, if you look up there, I always organize it with the most CPU usage at the top. So, and that used to be the most common problem, especially with the old Flash. But like I said, not with Flash and OBS. But if you see, like OBS is the top user, but if you organize it by memory, well, it still stays at the top, and that's just coincidental. But then the next thing is Firefox. See, it's using, and it has several different processes. If you top Firefox, then you have all those processes, and sometimes Firefox, one particular, see, these are all different. See, I still have my website open, but I've only got one page open, but there's that many processes that are running, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've probably seen where, this script is not responding, error on Firefox, or I imagine, on Chrome, either one, or the Windows browser. I imagine it still has a warning like that. And it'll say, what do you want to do? Wait or kill it, When that happens, if you're not, if that hasn't come up, but but the system's running poorly, you can look in here, and if you see a huge amount of memory, like the other day, I was using the YouTube, just had Firefox open, and I was testing out. I'd never used it before because I didn't have a camera I could do it with, or that I wanted to mess with. I have some old webcams, but they're too old to mess with. I was using this new camera here with this Comrie camera with the YouTube streaming straight from the web page, on this desktop here. And I just was doing like I'm doing now. I got all sidetracked and kept talking. And on the system, I started noticing my mouse was moving really slow and barely responding. And oh crap! I went over here and looked, and it was using 1.6 something gig of memory, and I got 4 gig. So all the other things being used on the system on top of that, and it wasn't a huge amount of CPU. It was the memory, and so I still didn't get out quick enough, and I did manage to end the stream, but just right after I ended the stream, I tried to close Firefox, and it wasn't responding. And then I couldn't even, and then before I could get over here and get to this, and all I had to do was just, I was here, and all I had to do was do that. It wouldn't respond. So I ended up having to press the button, hold the button in for 4 seconds, and hard shut it down. And I don't like to have to do that, because if you can just kill whatever's an unruly app in here, and you can do it with commands in the terminal, but you better be a command line whiz to remember how to do that and do it fast. But this I can do, especially if I'm paying attention. I can do it way ahead of time before, and I won't even, if I kill it before it starts really, messing the computer up, messing with the operating system too much or filling the RAM up too much or anything, then I don't have to reboot. Sometimes I've had days where I'd kill a Firefox, especially. There's all kinds of poorly written scripts on websites. I've had to kill Firefox over and over before and still not had to reboot. Usually if something really weird goes on, I'll go ahead and reboot. Unless it's something that makes me think it's malware, then I won't reboot. I will scan it. I'll open up ClamAV and scan the system first before I reboot. But yeah, that's another thing I learned the hard way on Windows. If you just shut the machine down and reboot, as soon as you think there's something going odd and weird on it, well, that's how you just installed that malware that was slowing down your system. When you reboot it, it gets installed in places you may never find it. For instance, your MBR, your master boot record of your hard drive. That was one of the big things that malware had started. Malware downloaders would install in your MBR, and unless you know how to rewrite the MBR and do all those kind of things, you won't get it out of there. It doesn't matter what you do, your operating system. That's a different section. It's very small at the beginning of your hard drive. Of course, nowadays they have UEFI. That's what one guy calls it. It's actually kind of good. I can remember that now. He said it so many times. Morton he's a server admin guy, and he makes great videos on servers. I've watched him for several years now. He calls it UEFI. I never could remember the letters right. I'd always saying them wrong. But if you have the new, UEFI BIOS, then I actually say it's not BIOS, but they thought that was going to be safe, but they found all kinds of ways to break into that too, and put malware in there. But so if you have that, it would be different. It wouldn't be the if you have a new system that came with the UEFI BIOS. Let me just call it that because that's what everybody generally calls it, or EUEFI, or I can't remember the letters. Then, if I remember right, it doesn't even have an MBR anymore, a hard drive like that. But I've learned how to format and rewrite MBRs and format drives and all that years ago. So, and I've just, all of the Linux systems I use, they don't, and my systems are old enough that I think this one might, it came with Windows 7 Pro with UEFI on it, and I took it off because it was just a headache to try to get it to work. And Fedora will work either way now. But I actually had trouble getting it to install and run right. I tried to use it because I thought I had to. That's what I thought. So that's about the only machine. No, I have a brand new motherboard that would support that I haven't used yet. That I'm going to rebuild my mom's system one of these days. Already rebuilt it once, and everything wasn't working right. I got an 8-core processor, 8 gig of RAM, and I was using it's a good motherboard, but it was one of the first motherboards. Can't think of the name of it now. First motherboards, the ASRock, that would support 8-core processors, but there was only like a short list of 4 or 5 processors, and this one wasn't in the list. But I'd read online that some people had it working, but they did say, some people had trouble with the Ethernet, the onboard Ethernet, which is gigabit Ethernet on that board. And I went around and around with it, and I couldn't get it to work. I had to put all I had was I put a 100 megabit card in it and got Ethernet on it, but we got 200 megabits download here on our internet here, so that's silly. So anyway, I bought an Asus motherboard that has I think it's 1 gig of onboard video and supports more memory. That was the max memory it would support. And it's an 8300 or 8500, 8-core. Can't remember now. Anyway, it'll work. It'll work on there. I just haven't rebuilt it again. And then that other motherboard and some other parts I have, I can put in another box. Have a well, I've got a dual. I used to run a dual core processor on it. It came from another machine, and it's not any, it's slow, but it's all right. It's better than sitting and collecting dust. And so anyway, I'm crazy this whole last week here. Every video I've made, I just can't stay on track, and I get off on long stories that have nothing to do with what I'm doing. I don't even have any idea how I'm getting from one place to the other. And before I started this long trail, I was like, oh, I gotta go take a break. And so I said I'm going to take a break, and then I went on, started talking. For some reason, when I'm getting ready to quit, I start just feeling like telling stories, and I just start doing it. But but I guess people have figured out by now that long live videos are liable to have anything in them, so you can just skip whatever. You can just skip whatever you don't want to see. So I'm going to go, and I hope to come back and cut back where I left off here. What I want to do now, since unless I figure out a much better ergonomic way for me to show that phone, I think I might really I've been seeing apps here and there, like in my wish list here. I'm not even going to click there yet because I want to finish and see all of the apps that I've tried and or do have. See if I can find a remote control app, remote desktop app. Then I can just work the phone from here. I can read the letters. The viewers can see it. I can see it later when I want to look at it. And if I can find one that'll work, that'd be great. So I'm going to go into doing that because I have 3 phones that need cleaning up and deleting apps that won't run anymore. I figured out, and the tablet too. I want to install. I know I want to take off goggles and I want to put on QR Droid. And I don't have to have remote desktop on it. I can see it. But anyway, I'm going to go because I do need that break now. All right.